Well, I think the prices are going to be going down already. I mean, the prices are way down. We brought prices way down from what it was.
It really is a golden age, just right around the corner.
As soon as Donald Trump announced that he was officially doing the tariff nonsense, experts said this is going to be a calamity. This is going to put farmers, manufacturers, just the general public in great risk of financial ruin. And that is what we're seeing. So much so that Donald Trump is now going to bail out the farmers, providing them welfare from the federal government to counteract the deleterious effects of his own policies, using the money from tariffs to undo or try to mitigate some of the damage done by his tariffs. And this is all absolutely without doubt. There is no question at all why they're having problems. This headline that I've talked about from the New York Times several times, it really tells the story. China bought $12.6 billion in U.S. soybeans last year. Now it's zero. China stopped buying soybeans from America in May, placing a retaliatory tariff on the bumper crop after President Trump increased levies on goods from China. Remember that number, by the way, 12.6 billion. What a weird coincidence that the particular number that Donald Trump is going to give the farmers of America through a welfare program happens to be $12 billion. Here's Donald Trump announcing this new initiative for welfare. Apparently, welfare works in some cases. A social safety net is appropriate in some cases, especially when it's covering his own ass. Watch his announcement.
I'm delighted to announce this afternoon that the United States will be taking a small portion of the hundreds of billions of dollars we receive in tariffs. We are making a lot of money from countries that took advantage of us for years. They took advantage of us like nobody's ever seen. Our deficits are way down because of tariffs. I guess because of the election, because without the election you wouldn't have tariffs. You'd be sitting here losing your shirt. But we're taking in billions. We're really taking in trillions of dollars, if you think about it, Scott, because the real number is, you know, when you think of all the money being poured into the country for new auto plants and all of the other things, AI. So what we're doing is we're taking a relatively small portion of that, and we're going to be giving and providing it to the farmers in economic assistance. And we love our farmers, and as you know, the farmers like me, because you know, based on voting trends, you could call it voting trends or anything else, but they're great people. They're the backbone of our country. So we're going to use that money to provide $12 billion in economic assistance to American farmers. $12 billion is a lot of money, Meryl. What do you think? Peanuts for you, though, right? Peanuts. She's a farmer of rice. This relief will provide much-needed certainty to farmers as they get this year's harvest to market and look ahead to next year's crops, and it'll help them continue their efforts to lower food prices for American families.
12 billion, says Donald Trump. How coincidental. How coincidental. Now, because Donald Trump is not intellectually equipped, he is not cognitively available to actually do any explaining at all relative to his policies, relative to the justification for this welfare handout to farmers. Brooke Rollins was available in the cabinet meeting, the Secretary of Agriculture, to explain what the justifications were for this. What were the causes of this needed injection of cash into farmers' bank accounts? And you'll never guess, it wasn't, according to her, because of the tariffs.
I mean, these are our people. Rural America is the fabric of our country. This is the way of life that preserves the American dream for the next 250 years as we celebrate the first 250 years. So we began to go to work immediately. What these elected officials sitting across from us did with the One Big Beautiful Bill, with a lot of help and direction from you, was the largest investment in rural America in any of our lifetimes. We will begin to see that effectuated next next year in 2026. As we have fought to bring input costs down, you have talked about, and even this weekend did an executive order, signed one, on looking into the reason that so much of these costs have been driven up over and over. Equipment, again, fertilizers.
We have to understand why that is, everybody. No, don't look over here at the tariffs. It couldn't be that. And in the middle of her droning on, trying to explain everything, Donald Trump inserts himself, making things worse, explaining in the most tone-deaf way that this money that we're giving to farmers is because of the tariffs. We're giving it out of the tariff money that we've collected, and we're going to give it to them. So everybody pays a tax on the goods that they've charged, that they've purchased, and then the government collects that tariff through all of those after-the-fact taxes, and then he's going to take that money, some of that money, and pay the people who make the most noise or that he can gain the most political capital from. Watch him explain.
Just know that this president, I have never been around anyone who every time we talk, he asks, how are my farmers? Every single time. So we will never stop fighting. We will make sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure the next 250 years is just as bright, if not brighter, than the last. So thank you, sir.
Brooke. Thank you. And this money would not be possible without tariffs. The tariffs are taking in, hundreds of billions of dollars, and we're giving some up to the farmers because they were mistreated by other countries for, I don't know, maybe right reasons, maybe wrong reasons. They weren't. They were trying to show us something, and it's really worked out really well. But because of the tariffs, this is possible.
Now, look, that is ridiculous. Obviously, these monies, this $12 billion that was collected from tariffs is being paid to people who are being harmed by tariffs. But make it make sense. And all of this is being predicated at a time when prices are rising and will continue to rise as a direct result of the tariffs. And I've talked about this, but there seems to still be a disconnect between the language and the excuses and the lies and the propaganda that Donald Trump disseminates, and the message that's coming from his cabinet. This particular case is pretty stark, where Donald Trump himself even slips up in the moment and says, well, yeah, prices are coming down. I mean, well, prices are already down. Everything's great. Everything's rosy. There's nothing to see here, except for the fact that they're in a meeting announcing that they have to pay $12 billion out of the tariff funds to farmers who are harmed by tariffs. It just does not resonate as true or compelling or real, except in the minds of people who are in the cult, people who are motivated to spread this narrative because it benefits the president of the United States, the dear leader, the chief cult information officer of the Trump cult. So here is him slipping up and saying, oh yeah, prices are low. Oh wait, no, they're gonna be, wait, no, they are low. He's just not sure.
Your team answered all of my questions on farming, but I do
have you have a farm
Mr.
question?
President, in the interest of affordability with this aid package, I assume that that's something you want consumers to see before midterms next year. How quickly will that affect prices at the grocery store?
Well, I think the prices are going to be going down already. I mean, the prices are way down. We brought prices way down from what it was. We inherited high prices. We inherited the biggest inflation in the history of our country. That means prices going up. And we brought it down very substantially. Now inflation is essentially gone. We have it normalized.
So they are gonna be low. No, they're low, but he's really not very sure about what the message is. So it's not surprising that his cabinet is also not on board, not on track with Donald Trump, because his message is one that is varied. It is not set in stone. There's not an official narrative from the administration. Brooke Rollins was on with Larry Kudlow on Fox News or Fox Business, one of the cheerleader networks for Donald Trump, where she's explaining that, look, the golden era, is that what it is? The golden age is it's not here yet, but it's just right around the corner, which flies in the face of Donald Trump at every speech that he gives, saying that we are currently in the golden age of America, brought on by him and his tariff policies. Apparently, that's not true. We're not in the golden age, but Brooke Rollins would love you to know that it's right around the corner. She can smell it.
Gas is down, lumber is down, eggs are down, Larry Kudlow. Really, everything is coming down. But we believe so sincerely. Listen, we're not tone deaf. We know that America, or a lot of Americans at least, are like, well, we're still not feeling the relief. The relief is coming. The structure is there. The one big beautiful bill, tax cuts go into effect. Costs are coming down. It really is a golden age just right around the corner. And I am so excited and so grateful as the president now moves out across the country next year to talk about it as we continue the work here in Washington to make sure it happens.
Brookie, one thing directly in your main. Madam Secretary.
Listen to all that anticipatory language. Really, everything is coming down. It's not down. Prices aren't down. The inflation hasn't been taken under control at all. It's coming down. But listen, we're not tone deaf, she says. You're not? We know a lot of Americans are like, well, we're still not feeling the relief. The relief is coming. It really is a golden age just right around the corner. Just wait for it, everybody. Just wait. Even though Donald Trump said not only would he end the war in Ukraine and Gaza within 24 hours of taking office, he would also get the economy back in shape. Prices would be fixed. Eggs, gas, energy in general, everything would be beautiful and wonderful, ushering in that golden age that she talked about. And that's just not the case, because Donald Trump has destroyed, in large measure, the American economy. That's going to take months, if not years, to gain back the reputation that we had on a world stage. It's going to have to take a lot of time to gain back the economy that we did have, the prices to kind of normalize after we get rid of the tariffs. That's what it's going to take. But Donald Trump is so dedicated to the prospect of this virtually ancient way to raise money before we had the system that we have in place now through the Treasury and taxation, that he's beholden to this idea of a 19th century, the 1800s of how to run the country. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think about this. If you're impacted by, well, of course you're impacted by this. You're an American. You're spending money in this economy. You know what's going on.
Hey, you treasonous traitor! Hey, you murderer! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison, you traitorous dog!
We are in precarious times in the United States. Obviously, that's not something that's news to you, but I want to start this off by talking about that. In the nation's capital, there's a church on Capitol Hill that is attended by Pete Hegseth and a cadre of Nazis, of white Christian nationalists. And the person who leads this church, or seeded, to use evangelical language, seeded this particular church, is Douglas Wilson, a man from my home state of Idaho. He runs a church, a white Christian nationalist church in Moscow, Idaho, where the University of Idaho is. And his church here in Washington, D.C., not only is attended by Pete Hegseth, but by an entire congregation of people who go there every Sunday. This church doesn't just espouse that their particular flavor of Christianity should rule your life, that the government should be run under the rules that they see fit based on their warped, twisted understanding of the preachings and the teachings and the philosophies of Jesus the Christ. They also believe that women should not be allowed to vote in the repeal of the 19th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Now, I've talked a lot about the ghouls at the Heritage Foundation. That's largely what makes up the congregation of this church. And I've talked about the difference in styles in activism in what we do. We need all kinds of people. This is instructive for you, I hope. We need dum-dums like me to do what I do. We need lawyers to bring cases. We need politicians to offer their support by the way of opposing or supporting legislation, writing laws. We also need activists on the ground who I'm sure have better things to do than go out on a Sunday morning / afternoon and talk to, harass, let it be known that there is opposition to the things they stand for. And I'm gonna play a video here, but I want to say this. Washington, D.C. is a minority city. Over 41% of this city is comprised of black people. Over 11% brown people. It is a city that is the racial makeup is of people who are in a group that has been traditionally oppressed, abused by the United States government. And the Heritage Foundation and Donald Trump and the white supremacist party that is the Republican Party. How many times have you heard me say it's the largest, most effective white supremacy organization on the planet? It's the Republican Party. It's not the KKK. That's an offshoot of the Republican Party. It's not some neo-Nazi movement. It is the Republican Party. And speaking of different styles, I have with me a video that I'm going to play for you of someone who goes out on Sundays, among other days, and tells these people, just informs them, we know who you are. You should not feel comfortable in polite company. This is William Kelly at DeWoke Farmer on Instagram. And this is the energy I think we need more of, not less of, in calling out Nazis to their faces, people who endeavor to take suffrage away from women, people who want to put the weight of their boot on the neck of black and brown people in this country, who want to bring back white supremacy under color of law openly, nakedly in the United States. So when you see people screaming in the face of these church parishioners, it should not make you feel uncomfortable. You should feel grateful that there's someone out there in your stead to do it. Because these people, what's the turn of phrase? I don't know if they shouldn't feel safe, but they shouldn't feel comfortable walking the streets of the nation's capital, going to a church to learn about the philosophies, to remove women from the electorate, to oppress and suppress the vote of black and brown people in this country. They should not, at the very least, feel comfortable. And that's exactly what this individual does. Watch this video, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
You're such a Nazi little bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you think you can just destroy our nation? Why do you think you can bring back white supremacy? Why do you think you're better than everybody else? What the fuck is wrong with you assholes? Oh, it's funny, fucking Nazi piece of shit. What are you worshiping? You're fucking taking fucking whiskey shots with Hegseth. Be honest. Look at it. He laughed. He laughed because he knows it's true. You guys aren't fucking worshiping. Look at this bitch ass. You're worshiping. Look at this fucking little bitch ass little American pin. Look at this little bitch ass kid. Look at him.
They're asking if you could just move on.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, move on, you punk ass bitch. You will be judged not by a god, but by a court of law, you fucking Nazi fuck. You can't tell me to stop. This is the sidewalk. This is the First Amendment. You are preventing my First Amendment rights. I am protesting. You are preventing me from practicing my First Amendment rights. You are violating the Constitution. You little bitch ass. What's your fucking excuse? I'm not near him.
You don't have to be that close.
Look at this little bitch putting his hands on me. Little punk ass bitch. All right, what's your fucking excuse? Why do you fucking go to a church that preaches? No, we know. What about the nationalism? What about the Christian nationalism? What is it about?
Is that all you got to say?
No, what is it about?
That's all you got to say.
What is it about, asshole?
I don't need to discuss.
See, you won't defend yourself because you're a punk ass little bitch fucking Nazi. Fuck you, you fucking Nazi fucking piece of shit. Shame on you. You think you're fucking superior than people? You ain't shit, bitch. You ain't fucking shit. You ain't nothing but a fucking cowardly fucking traitor. Look at these spineless little bitches.
Look, I know that I've talked about the different styles of people that we need out there. I've talked to Ro Khanna about it. I've talked to Cory Booker. I've talked to politicians to their faces about that it's necessary for there to be people like me who are a little bombastic. So when I watch that video, it brings me joy. It brings me comfort that there's someone who's willing to sacrifice of their time, of their day, of their life to go out there in service, in opposition to fascism and fascists. It's not a turn of phrase to call these people fascists. It's not just a cute, politically expedient, in the moment that we live in. They are fascists. They support fascist policies. That's why I am very pleased to have joined me today William Kelly at DeWoke Farmer on Instagram and elsewhere. We'll get to that. William, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. A pleasure to be here.
So I've already played a clip, obviously, of your work. What you do out there here in the city, I think, is fantastic. It brings me, and I probably shouldn't speak for Brittany Page, but it brings both of us great joy to watch your efforts out there. Let me start with this. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you're a veteran. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what animated you to endeavor this type of activism.
Well, to start out, I'm a combat infantry veteran. I served back in Iraq during the surge in 2007. And I'm frustrated with Donald Trump's administration. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in a nation for all people, no matter their skin color or their sexuality or anything like that. And so I got tired of yelling at bots on Instagram. So I went to the No Kings, the second No Kings protest in D.C. And I'm not gonna lie, I have PTSD. I'm a country guy. I was scared. I was not wanting to go, but I showed up and I met with, the guys that Remember Your Oath, and they were amazing and they really inspired me. I realized that there's some veterans I can be, with my allies there. And I got pumped up and I've been there every single day. I think I've taken one day off since.
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to play the audience, spoiler alert, you're going to get to watch William here to the face of Pete Hegseth, call him a coward and a traitor and a criminal. So gear yourself up for that. But let me ask you, because I talk a lot on YouTube about there being different styles. Even in my cohort of content creators, and you know this, I mean, it's a different ecosystem on Instagram than it is YouTube. But you got buddies of mine like David Pakman or Farron Cousins, and they just have a different style than me. I'm more bombastic. I don't shy away from calling these fuckers names. And I love that is also you. What has been your experience with, how typically do these people react when you call them a fascist to their face? What's kind of the normal average response?
I'll be honest, most of the time they have a look of fear in their face and they keep moving. Some of them will interact and try to be funny or, with a laughy face or something like that. But none of them will really come and defend themselves, even though I often ask, hey, defend what you're doing to this nation. I have yet to have any of them, come up and have a spine and stand up for what they're doing.
Yeah, I had the same. I was on a plane to Japan in October, and seated across from me and in front of me was one of Pete Hegseth's press secretaries, doing her very sensitive work in the open as loudly and as ostentatiously as she could. And we had a back and forth, and I called her a fascist, and she seemed shocked by the prospect that anyone would consider her a fascist. What are you kind of gunning for here? What do you hope to achieve through what I believe to be pretty noble efforts?
I mean, my main mission is to agitate, educate, and organize. But as you see on my Instagram, my main goal as far as agitation is, I really want to break the narrative that these, what I like to call Timu fascists, I'd like to break the narrative of their strength. They are weak. There's more of us than there are of them. And I want to encourage more people to get up in their faces and stand up against them. I want to use the First Amendment before the Republic is completely destroyed so that we can avoid using the Second Amendment.
Yeah. I'm going to play this clip of you. This is from your Instagram account. I would encourage everybody to go follow William on Instagram, but also watch this when Pete Hegseth comes out of his white Christian nationalist church that advocates for the repeal of the 19th Amendment of the Constitution and for the oppression of gay and trans people, of the oppression and suppression of the vote of black people in this country. Watch William get his moment to actually say it to the face of Pete Hegseth.
Hey, you treasonous traitor! Hey, you murderer! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison, you traitorous dog! You cowardly, treasonous murderer! Shame on you, you traitor! Shame on you, you coward! Traitor! You shitbag! You can't even do a pull-up, you drunk! You treasonous traitor! Hey, you murderer! You're gonna learn how to do a pull-up in prison! You're gonna learn how to do how to do a pull-up, you bitch-ass traitor. You can't even do a pull-up and you think you're an alpha male. Fuck you, Nazi!
So, one, that had to feel good, right? You're finally at the church of, you're there every Sunday. This is on Capitol Hill, I believe on Pennsylvania Avenue, right?
Yes, right down the
and
street.
So
from
you're
Capitol.
face to face with Pete Hegseth, and you get the opportunity to say it. And let me tell you, your voice is just, it's gotta be, there's no other voice that could be doing this better through the bullhorn. And you see the coward across the street with fear in his eyes, hearing what you're saying. So cowardly, I don't know if you clocked this, and I don't know if the audience clocked it, but he sends his wife
around
to the crowd side of the vehicle to get in. He can't even do it himself. He's that much of a coward. What did it feel like?
For one, I've been waiting for this for a long time. I go to his church almost every Sunday, and I miss him every time. So this was, a long time coming. But yeah, I was disappointed, to be honest. Someone calling them the Secretary of War, or the God of War, and all this, bravado and alpha talk. I thought he would. He knows who I am. I thought he would come, say something, but instead he had his wife go around and had his security taking photos of me. So, maybe he could check my service record later or something. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, I've been out there at the Heritage Foundation on Mondays a couple times, and I freely give my name. You don't have to look me up. I'll tell you who I am, where to find me. I'm not afraid of you. And I think this is the energy that we need to really be modeling good behavior for people, that they too don't have to just be at home. If they don't have money to contribute to campaigns or movements or nonprofits, if they have any time at all, they can get out there, and they don't have to be a William Kelly out there. They don't have to be a Jesse Dollemore, as bombastic or as aggressive, but just having a body on the scene to show to these people that there is a section of the country that disapproves, I think is important. Do you agree with that?
I think that even if you just go down to your local, market area and stand there with a flag, I mean, that just shows people that, they're not alone, like especially in the deep red areas of our nation. It's really important. And that's the most important, in fact. People need to know that others are standing up, and just go out there with a flag, and other people will join you as they continue to join me.
Well, until there's just a panoply of individuals out there, I really want to say that I do appreciate your work. I think it is important. I think it is critical in this moment, in this terrifying moment in American history. There's all kinds of things I assume you could be doing other than going out to Pete Hegseth's church to protest them. And I think you need to be supported in this work. I see that you have a GoFundMe, and I believe I saw a Cash App. If we have links to those, we'll put those up on screen right now. I would encourage everybody, if you got a buck or two, forego whatever you might send to me to support my work and help William out. It's important, and I think it needs to be normalized that these people are called Nazis, are called fascists, are called criminals, war criminals, murderers, because that is exactly who they are. And look, I'm sure you get a little bit of love and juiced up on Instagram, but I want to say face to face to you that I very much appreciate what you're doing. I think it's patriotic to the nth degree, and we need more people like you, William.
I really appreciate your support, and I appreciate what you do as well. You're getting the truth out there, and my dad's a fan, so it's really an honor to be here, and I really thank you for having me.
Well, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, Instagram, DeWoke Farmer, D-A, Woke Farmer, all one word. I'm also same username on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, but I'm mostly interacting on Instagram.
Well, go out there if you have an account on any one of those platforms and support this. I hesitate to call you a creator because it just seems like you're kicking ass and doing good activism, but go support this guy. He's doing stellar work, and we need more of this from more people. William Kelly, thank you for joining me, and maybe we'll have you back another time.
Thank you so much. And I just want to let people know also, please go to rememberyouroath.org and support our efforts in, standing up against this illegal occupation of D.C. by the National Guard and other federal forces.
Absolutely. This is bank fraud. This is what they're alleging. Mortgage fraud is obtaining a loan under fraudulent circumstances, but he wants to punish everyone else for the thing he himself is guilty of. Ding, 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 ding. I wish I had a bell, like a hypocrisy bell. Maybe I need to get myself a bell, even just like a ding, just a hypocrisy bell for the desk. Donald Trump has been weaponizing the government and his Department of Justice against several individuals. And the only crime that they can drum up that ends up being fake anyway is mortgage fraud. James Comey, Letitia James, Lisa Cook, Eric Swalwell. There's been a host of people that Donald Trump is accusing of mortgage fraud. Would you be surprised at all to learn that Donald Trump, he himself, is guilty of mortgage fraud, of doing the same thing, actually not even the same thing, worse cases of mortgage fraud that Donald Trump is guilty of in past years, buying multiple homes and saying that those homes are his primary residence that are in Florida when he actually lived in New York City. It won't be shocking to you to learn that, right? That is why I am very thankful for outlets like ProPublica to give us the proof, the evidence of the thing that we probably could have said, yeah, that's probably true. But now we know it's true. This headline should send shudders down the spines of every fascist in this administration, because it means they cannot hide from the things they're accusing others of, which they can't even secure indictments over because it's such bullshit. This is from ProPublica. Trump's own mortgages match his description of mortgage fraud, records reveal. The Trump administration has argued that Fed board member Lisa Cook may have committed mortgage fraud by declaring more than one primary residence on her loans. We found Trump once did the very thing he called, quote, deceitful and potentially criminal. This is why when there's an outlet like, for instance, ProPublica, if you have an extra few dollars, you should support this organization. They are truly independent. They are not a corporate-owned entity. They're not a tributary of CBS News or some other nonsense. They are independent, and they break amazing stories all the time with ferocity. For months, the Trump administration has been accusing its political enemies of mortgage fraud for claiming more than one primary residence. President Donald Trump branded one foe who did so, quote, deceitful and potentially criminal. He called another crooked on True Social and pushed the attorney general to take action. But years earlier, Trump did the very thing he's accusing his enemies of, records show. Now, this is a very lengthy article that goes into great detail about all of this. I will link it below. I would suggest you read every single word to make yourself in full understanding of what we're talking about. I'm only going to read a few paragraphs to give you kind of the broad strokes, but do go and read this on ProPublica. Do support ProPublica if you have it within your financial means, because it's important. Here's the lay of the land here. Trump bought the two homes, which both sit on Woodbridge Road, directly north of Mar-a-Lago, and got mortgages in quick succession in December of 1993 and January 1994. The lender on both mortgages, one for $525,000 and one for $1.2 million, was Merrill Lynch, which is now owned, for your edification, I learned in the article, is now owned by Bank of America. Each of the mortgage documents signed by Trump contain the standard occupancy requirement that he must make the property his principal residence within 60 days and live there for at least a year, unless the lender agrees otherwise or there were extenuating circumstances. But ProPublica could not find evidence Trump ever lived in either of the properties. Legal documents and federal election records from the period give his address as Trump Tower in Manhattan. Trump would officially change his permanent residence to Florida only decades later in 2019. A Vanity Fair profile published in March 1994 describes Trump spending time in Manhattan and at Mar-a-Lago itself. Now, You might ask yourself, and I think it's the natural question to ask, how does this exactly line up with the accusations against Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York, and Lisa Cook, who's on the board of the Federal Reserve? How is it that what he did lines up against what he's accused them of doing? Well, you might be happy to know that I'm going to tell you. Here's how it lines up with Letitia James' case. A central claim in the case that the Trump Justice Department brought against her is that she purchased a house in Virginia, pledging to her lender that it would serve as her second home, then proceeded to use it as an investment property and rent it out. Quote, this misrepresentation allowed James to obtain favorable loans not available for investment properties, according to the indictment. Trump's Florida mortgage agreements appear to have made a more significant misrepresentation. So it's not comparable, it's actually worse. Donald Trump did a worse thing than the crime that he's alleging that Letitia James committed, that he can't even secure an indictment on. Again, for your edification, Trump's Florida mortgage agreements appear to have made a more significant misrepresentation, as he claimed those homes would be his primary residence, not his secondary home, as James did before proceeding to rent them out. So he didn't say, oh yeah, it's a secondary home, and then it was an investment, which I'm not even sure of those details because we can't believe anything Donald Trump or his DOJ alleges. He said they would both be his primary residence, while even Mar-a-Lago wasn't his primary residence. It was Trump Tower in New York City. Now, Lisa Cook, on the other hand, little bit of different situation. This is how it lines up with Donald Trump's situation. The circumstances around Trump's mortgages are also similar to the case his administration has made against Lisa Cook, a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Trump declared he was firing Cook earlier this year over her mortgages, as he has sought to bend the traditionally independent agency to his will and force it to lower interest rates. Cook, who denied wrongdoing, has sued to block the termination and continues to serve on the Fed board as the legal fight continues. In a letter to Cook, Trump specifically noted that she signed 2 primary residence mortgages within weeks of each other, just as records show he did in Florida. He called the loans potentially criminal and wrote, at a minimum, this is what Donald Trump wrote about Lisa Cook, at a minimum, the conduct at issue exhibits the sort of gross negligence in financial transactions that calls into question your competence and trustworthiness. So, Donald Trump, guilty of the exact same thing he's accusing someone else of, by his own logic, by his own reasoning, by his own estimation, we should be calling into question his competence and trustworthiness. And they brought receipts. They've got copies of mortgage papers. There are 2 that are included in this particular article, but let me tell you, there's gonna be more. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And let me also tell you, my estimation, my prediction would be, it's not just these 2 houses. It's going to be others. There's going to be all kinds of others that Donald Trump fraudulently lied about. This is bank fraud. This is what they're alleging. Mortgage fraud is obtaining a loan under fraudulent circumstances. But he wants to punish everyone else for the thing he himself is guilty of. Now, this is beyond the statute of limitations. He can't be prosecuted for this anymore, and he wouldn't be anyway because the Supreme Court saw fit to grant him wild, insane, unprecedented immunity as president of the United States. But one more feather in the hypocrisy cap. Bing! Ding, 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 ding. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's talk about it in the comments below. Go read this article. I very much encourage you to do so and to support ProPublica.
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was
You're
up
the
to
most
Secretary Hegseth.
obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, actually a terrible reporter. And it's always the same thing with you.
You know, there's a lot of talk right now about Mike Johnson. Every time he's asked a question about something he doesn't want to talk about, he just says, oh, I don't know about that. I haven't been watching the news. I'm too busy to know about all of the breaking news headlines that surround Donald Trump's corruption and his mishandling of the country and the presidency itself. Well, I think he might get that from Donald Trump because he wants it all the ways. Donald Trump wants to be looked at as a vastly knowledgeable. We'll get to that. But just a man who has a stranglehold on reality and the facts and knowledge and expertise about everything. He's the commander in chief. He's a strong man. He's powerful. No one makes decisions without him knowing until there's a scandal. And then it's like, I don't know about that. Oh, yeah, it's hard for me to say. I'm leaving that up to them as he tries to throw people under the bus. And this has been no more stark than related to the illegal, the war crimes, the murder, the premeditated murder of individuals on fishing boats that Donald Trump alleges are drug boats in the ocean. A second strike where non-combatants were clinging to life on a boat, and then they were ordered from Pete Hegseth's orders, kill them all. And then they were summarily executed on the high seas. Well, I got a few clips here. One is he's lying about the release. He said just last week he wants to release. I talked about this. I think the thumbnail was something about white supremacy clown car in the Oval Office. That particular video shows this clip where he agrees, yeah, we'll release it. It was in that meeting. We will release the tapes. And now he's saying, I never said that. That's fake news. But the other thing that just broke today is an interview with Politico with Dasha Burns, who is spotty. Sometimes does a good job, sometimes not. I guess that's everybody, right? And she's asking him questions about Europe. And I want to set the stage with this particular clip where he tells Dasha Burns about, literally, he says, I'm supposed to be a very smart person. I have eyes. I have ears. I have knowledge. I have vast knowledge. And it's that vast knowledge that very quickly withers on the vine and falls away when he's asked tough questions about issues that could bring disrepute to him or even indictment and prosecution because of the murder of individuals on the high seas and the war crime, even if we take his account that it's a battle against terrorists. Watch him explain his vast knowledge.
But he thinks the changes that you're making and what you laid out in your vision for Europe is what Moscow wants to see.
I have no vision for Europe. All I want to see is a strong Europe. Look, I have a vision for the United States, America first. It's make America great again. I do explain to Europe because I think, I'm supposed to be a very smart person. I have eyes. I have ears. I have knowledge. I have vast knowledge. I see what's happening. I get reports that you will never see. And I think it's horrible what's happening to Europe. I think it's endangering Europe as we know it. Europe could be a whole different place.
Your impact.
And I think the European people should do something about it.
You heard it here, folks. Vast knowledge. I got a brain. I got the best words. He's just so smart, so brilliant, so genius. Until, again, he's asked questions that put him in a tight spot, like this about the boat strikes.
Have you watched the video?
We're stopping. I watched everything, yeah. I watch everything. I see a lot of things.
And do you believe that that second
pretty,
strike was necessary?
Well, it looked like they were trying to turn back over the boat, but I don't get involved in that. That's up to them.
I don't get involved in that. That's up to them. Says the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States of America. A man who acts like he's got his finger on every single button within the administration. Until there's scandal, and he wants to throw somebody under the bus. And this is all predicated on this ongoing controversy, this ongoing questioning of the administration about the murder, the premeditated murder of people who were provided no due process. We only have the word of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, and we know how fucking good that is, how good their word is. That is to say, not good, right? So here is Donald Trump explaining that he doesn't have any problem releasing the video to show to the American people so we can make up our own mind about whether it was a war crime, about whether it was murder. He said, no problem. This was last week.
I've never heard of it. Very good. We never heard of it. That's pretty good.
Mr. President, you released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem. You know, we stopped every boat we knock out. We save 25,000 American lives.
That's right.
And
I don't know what they have, but we'd certainly release. That's what he said last week. Asked again yesterday by Rachel Scott, apparently the same reporter who does good work, by the way. He says, I didn't say that. I never said that. Oh, this is ABC fake news. I never said that. That's totally fake news. This should be a window in, even for MAGA people, that when Donald Trump denies something or calls something fake news, he's a liar. You just witnessed him say, yes, I don't know what's on him, but we'd release him. And then when asked about him saying that, he says, I never said that. That's a lie.
Mr. President, you said that you would have Mr. President, you said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says.
You said that. I didn't say that. This is ABC fake news.
You said that you would have no problem releasing the full bit. Okay, well, Secretary Hegseth.
No, whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
He now says it's under review. Are you ordering the secretary to release that full video?
Whatever he decides is okay with me. So every boat we knock out of the water, every boat, we save 25,000 American lives. That was a boat loaded up with drugs. I saw the video. They were trying to turn the boat back to where it could float. And we didn't want to see that because that boat was loaded up with drugs just like everything else. But every boat we shoot down, and I don't know if you know, we're 92 or 94% down in drugs coming in by the sea. And we're trying to find who are the 6%. Because I don't know, people aren't liking to drive boats right now loaded up with drugs. But every single, think of that, every single boat we shoot out, on average, we save 25,000 American lives. Do you feel okay about that, Court?
Keep us safe.
Okay, I know my man. What about you? Are you okay with that?
I'm totally fine with that. Are you committed to releasing the full video?
One, he's asking farmers, ostensibly, people who are not cabinet members or have the requisite understanding of the intelligence necessary to make decisions about, is that okay with you if we murder people on the high seas? Is that okay with you? Oh, my men. Oh, how about my ladies? But he's a liar, as evidenced by what we just witnessed. And the clip continues, by the way. We'll back it up and then start it again so you can know exactly where we are in the clip. But Rachel Scott then begins to press him on the release of the tape. And he instead, because he's given his answer, his nonsense lie, that wasn't good enough for an actual reporter who wants an answer to the question, he starts attacking her, calling her obnoxious. It's always a woman who he attacks like this. And he gets extra juice out of attacking black women. Watch this.
Are you committed to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was
You're
up
the
to
most
Secretary Hegseth.
obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, actually a terrible reporter. And it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
So anybody who's going to try to endeavor to do their job is a terrible reporter, is terrible at their job. If you ask a sycophantic bootlick question about the Fedsurrection, which is something that happened yesterday with one of these new media idiots who are just MAGA cult members, setting didn't even ask a question, just made a statement, and Donald Trump referenced it as that. Oh, that's not really a question, it's a statement. But thank you for that, thank you for that. That, for him, is a good reporter, is a intrepid seeker of the truth to tee Donald Trump up to give his propaganda. But when you actually ask a hard question that he should be forced to answer because he, after all, is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, a constitutional representative of the people, he attacks the journalist. He attacks the free and fair press, ultimately, by extension, attacking the First Amendment itself. This is what we got, folks. What do you think? I invite you to have a conversation in the comments about this. We can also have you call the voicemail line and leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I appreciate you very much. If you appreciate me, if I am your vibe, if you like the cut of my jib or name a turn of phrase, if I'm your guy and I bring you value, please consider supporting this work. On Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. On YouTube, you can click the join button on my channel or below the video where you're watching it. And for $2 a month on either side, you can support this work and help produce these videos, helping me reach the millions of people that I do every month. But these people they were brought up into adulthood in politics under Donald Trump, thinking that this is just how the government works, having zero understanding of the same Constitution to which they swore an oath to support and defend. I wish I could play taps, although taps is usually for somebody who's died. I don't even think that's taps. I would play taps for Alina Habba, is what I'd be doing. I'm going to read this statement to you that was posted on Twitter, the official way to resign your position. Alina Habba is no longer the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. She was forced after a appeals court panel, unanimously 3 judges in a federal court, said, nope, you are not serving appropriately. You have not been appointed legally to your position. You are unlawfully in the role, and she is now forced to leave. I'm going to read this bananas statement, again, posted to Twitter, and then we're going to talk about her role in the administration and where she's headed. This is, again, on Twitter, statement from Alina Habba, acting U.S. Attorney and Special Attorney to the United States Attorney General. For the past 5 years, I've fought for justice on behalf of the American people. You have? For the past 5 years? For justice for the American people? Because for the past 5 years, most of that time, you've been Donald Trump's attorney, his personal criminal attorney in the many cases. In fact, in the cases you were involved, Donald Trump lost. Donald Trump was convicted. You, madam, are a loser of a lawyer, a loser of a human being. The only thing you're good at is being a Donald Trump bootlick. For the past 5 years, I fought for justice on behalf of the American people, and my tenure under our great Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Tom Blatch, we made New Jersey safer by arresting United States Congress members, by arresting mayors of Newark, New Jersey. That made people safe, Alina? Come on. There's not going to be this much commentary. I'll just read through it. Camden had its first murder-free summer in 50 years. We drove down crime, took violent offenders off the streets, caught terrorists, and put away child predators. You're working for a child predator, sister. While I was focused on delivering real results, judges in my state, federal judges, a 3-paneled appeals court, judges in my state took advantage of the flawed blue slip tradition and became weapons for the politicized left, For months, these judges stopped conducting trials and entering sentences. There were no trials for months. These judges stopped all trials. Criminals just running amok in New Jersey, according to liar Alina Habba. For months, these judges stopped conducting trials and entering sentences, leaving violent criminals on the street. They joined New Jersey senators who care more about fighting President Trump than the well-being of residents which they serve. For years, I fought against lawfare aimed at President Trump, against politics infecting our justice system. What these obstructionists misunderstood is that my loyalty is not to politics, a title, or a zip code. It is to this great country. Who believes this shit? As a result of the Third Circuit's ruling, and to protect the stability and integrity of the office which I love, you would have left right away if that was the case. I have decided to step down in my role as the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey, but do not mistake compliance for surrender. This decision will not weaken the Justice Department, and it will not weaken me. My fight will now stretch across the country as we wait for further review of the court's ruling. I will continue to serve as the Department of Justice, as the senior advisor to the Attorney General for U.S. attorneys. someone who was unlawfully in her role is now going to advise the Attorney General about the role she just left after having been forced out because she was unlawfully appointed. Makes tons of sense. And then she ends it with, make no mistake, these fucking people with the overwrought drama, make no mistake, you can take the girl out of New Jersey, but you can't take New Jersey out of the girl. It is amazing reading that resignation letter. She's now out of a job, out of that particular job, knowing that this summer, or when the government shutdown was happening, she said this about veterans not being fit, military veterans, not fit for a job, and that's why it was okay to fire American military veterans from their jobs.
President is starting to think about maybe some of those veterans who worked for the federal government and maybe what the administration can do to at least help salvage their lives?
Well, as you know, we care about veterans tremendously. I mean, that's something the president has always cared about. Anybody in blue, anybody that serves this country. But at the same time, we have taxpayer dollars. We have a fiscal responsibility to use taxpayer dollars to pay people that actually work. That doesn't mean that we forget our veterans by any means. We are going to care for them in the right way, but perhaps they're not fit to have a job at this moment or not willing to come to work. And we can't, I wouldn't take money from you and pay somebody and say, sorry, they're not going to come to work. It's just not acceptable.
Or how about this? The U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey saying that Donald Trump as president is the ultimate authority in the federal government.
Separation of powers. It's a really novel idea, but our founding fathers created a document, the Constitution. There's a separation of powers for a reason. The executive branch is the ultimate authority on federal issues, and we have rogue judges who are trying to stop members like Doge team, Besant, from doing their job. And that's to protect taxpayer dollars, to look at what we're doing with spending, and to run the federal government under President Trump.
This is just a misunderstanding, to be as fair and charitable as I can to these statements. A misunderstanding. Donald Trump, in no world, under any law or article of the Constitution, is the ultimate authority on anything. That statement in and of itself disregards the checks and balance system that we have that has been enshrined by our forebearers who wrote the Constitution, who designed the Constitution. The Congress isn't the ultimate authority because the president and the judiciary both have checks over the Congress. The president isn't the ultimate authority because the Congress and the judiciary have checks over that branch. The judiciary isn't the ultimate authority because there are checks on it. It is a partnership in governance. And these people who believe Donald Trump is some kind of a king, including this woman who purports to be qualified to be a U.S. attorney, she claims it. Now, I'm going to end with this. This was her in the portico of the White House announcing her appointment, discussing her appointment, her illegal appointment to this position just a few months ago.
Good morning. I'm sure you've seen President Trump has just put out a statement that he has appointed me as the interim U.S. attorney for the state of New Jersey, my home state. As you know, I've stood by President Trump, his family, the organization, and many other clients in that state where I've been born and raised, and I'm raising my babies now. But there is corruption, there is injustice, and there is a heavy amount of crime right in Cory Booker's backyard and right under Governor Murphy, and that will stop. I look forward to working with Pam Bondi and with the Department of Justice and making sure that we further the president's agenda of putting America first, cleaning up mess, and going after the people that we should be going after, not the people that are falsely accused. That will stop in the great state of New Jersey starting now. Thank you so much.
Who are the people that you want to go after?
We'll see when I get in there. We got to see what's going in. I know you'd love that narrative. Let me be very clear.
You mentioned politics.
I didn't actually.
Cory Booker and Governor Murphy.
Correct, because I think Cory Booker and Governor Murphy have failed the state of New Jersey. If you look at what happened in crime, what's going on in Newark, what's going on in Camden, this has been a neglected state. It is one of the most populated states for its size, and it needs to stop. We're going to do a bang-up job. I cannot wait. It's a great honor.
How long is your appointment for?
Thank you very much.
Why did the president?
That was arrogance, is what that was. that was arrogantly announcing, signaling at the very least that she would be Donald Trump's weapon against Democrats. The way she's speaking isn't the way U.S. attorneys should be speaking. They should be dispassionate arbiters of justice, bringing cases where they can secure prosecutions, where the evidence leads them, not in a predetermined manner of who they're going to go after, who the enemy is, and it's always Democrats. But these people they were brought up into adulthood in politics under Donald Trump, thinking that this is just how the government works, having zero understanding of the same Constitution to which they swore an oath to support and defend. It is disloyalty to the country. It's disloyalty to their solemn vow, their oath to that Constitution. It's disloyalty to we the people. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video. You can also call the voicemail line and get your voice telephonically on the record, huh? What do you think? 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine. Say it with me. Take care of one another.